Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our episode 5 of the Cyber Foodty Podcast. Today's theme is mostly on our expert series for expert insights, showing personal perspectives, threats, and future of Infosec. So, our guest today, we have Mr. Moses Omolaiye, popularly known as Mo. Uh, so, he's basically a renowned cybersecurity strategist and the founder of, I would say, Mitigate IT enterprise, if I'm correct, which is basically, I think, from what I've searched, it's a consulting firm that is focused on helping Nigerian organizations and businesses to build like stronger governance in terms of risk compliance of their systems. Also, with over a decade of experience, he has helped many organizations implement these global frameworks like ISO 27000 series, QMS, and the rest. So all this he has been doing while still leading high impact training programs for professionals, maybe students, and other security teams. So welcome once again, Mo, and thank you for being
Thank
on
you.
this episode with us. Yeah,
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
always. So our first segment, we're going to focus on basically your main perspectives, but let's start big. Let's say in the state of cybersecurity in Nigeria right now. What would you say are like the top threats facing organizations, in your own opinion, just randomly, both
Okay.
public and private that you have worked with, just in your experience? Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I think one of the things that top the chart is awareness. A lot of organizations just put in quotes things in place in quotes, and they really do not train even from the rudiments. It's not just the technical guys that should be trained. And then, secondly, I think there's misinformation. I've seen places I've gone to, and they tell me I have a firewall, but I mean, a firewall is is just a tool. I mean, just an
Exactly.
appliance rather. It's not. It doesn't stop an attack, you know. And then I think number three, the realization that you cannot eradicate attacks. You can only minimize to the barest minimum, you know. So I think those three things I mean, over time, I've seen is uh, they are rudimentary stuff. I don't want to go into the bigger ones like budgeting and all of that, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, but
So, as a follow up to these issues that you have raised, I think, is there a gap, do you think, between awareness or response capability of most Nigerian organizations or businesses, mostly in this area?
um, yes. So, and this is it. So I go and I'm implementing, say, ISO 27001. What the organizations a lot of times are interested in, because it's a business or a regulatory requirement, they're more interested in, okay, will we get this certification, as opposed to running the information security program in itself. So I think that a lot of times the disconnect is actually beyond certification, is actually running the program post certification. So a lot of times they get certified, they just abandon it. When it's time for recertification, they want you to come and do magic again. And I feel that they would even spend less if they run the program at the time of recertification. You probably don't even need me because you're doing what you should do. So the disconnect is actually action, proper action, you know.
Okay, that's actually it brings back a lot of memories from exactly what you say. So, because I can resonate with that. Most organizations tend to just have the certification because it's a need rather than what a want rather than what they need actually. So instead
Yeah.
of actually implementing the main practical aspects of it on their daily work within the organization, I mean every day and every activity being ingrained into their processes, it's just for okay, it's expired, let's just renew it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. But your company mitigate IT, is that how it's pronounced, or mitigate it?
mitigate it is just word
Okay.
coins. So
Yeah, I was trying to
yeah,
play around with it, so
yeah,
it seems to actually be doing a lot. I've discussed with a few guys in the industry. You guys implement ISMS implementations
yeah.
to maybe doing compliance consulting. Can you walk us through briefly through some of these most impactful, all the most impactful projects that you have actually done in Nigeria, basically?
Okay, so I think some of the most impactful ones, which for me, impactful and uh, I won't use the word funny because two of those impactful ones were actually for IT companies, but they were uh, software development companies. So they do business with banks in other parts of Africa too, some central banks and also other banks. But it was quite impactful because it taught me a lesson that even though we were in the same industry, they didn't know, and no fault of theirs because it's not their expertise. So for me, I felt fulfilled that wow, even within my own circle, even within my own industry, I could be of this much use and
Mm,
impact to an organization because it was a requirement for their business. We're talking ISO 27001 and then the data protection implementation, and that really for me went. I mean, I gave myself flowers because I didn't expect that I would go into an environment like that and that would have that much impact. And the second one was for a bank, which of course I cannot call the name.
yeah. Mm,
A lot of things were in disarray. I mean, a bank that had a security personnel that didn't know what a honeypot was. So you can imagine. But going
let
back
alone to
there,
implement it. Yeah.
yes, after a while, based on the initial job that was done, like there was a lot of improvement where even their management had to attest that there was difference pre our work and months later, let's say 6 months down the line, post our work. And those are some of the projects that we pride in because we see that the impact, it wasn't just about implementation, but it was about true impact on their processes,
Mm,
even on their information security program at large.
okay. I think that will also very understandable and relatable in terms of that. But I think before we move forward, let's take it back. I think we jumped in right in.
Okay.
Just take us back. What actually inspired you at the beginning? Inspired your journey into cybersecurity? Was there a specific moment? Was there a mentor or an event that actually lit the spark for you?
Okay, so for me, I think it's about having answers to questions. I had too many questions that needed answers, and there
Mm,
were some that I necessarily wasn't getting the satisfactory answers. So, backtrack, I come from the first thing I ever did IT wise was networking, funny enough. The first certification I ever wrote was a CCNA, and went on that journey from networking to infrastructure generally, support. I did business process management at some point, and it was while I was doing business process management and identifying this, like I said, asking questions because I was in charge of not just the business process management bits, but the people that were in the infrastructure side, the infrastructure architects, the server admin, and also I was part of the design of you have to do failover, you have to do all of that. And the question now comes up, okay, what if there is a breach here, or what if this goes wrong there, and there is compromise? And I think that was my biggest point where I'm like, okay, I'm asking too many people too many questions. I can just possibly understand this and answer these questions myself. And I did not understand the level of opportunities and impacts that this journey could make until some time down the road. And then also, when I put the lid on the bottle was when I did a certain job for about 5 months, and ironically, that job answered all my questions and it helped me the direction. So I'd say it came from a place of questions, 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 and in wanting to find the answers, here we are, it became a profession.
Exactly. So basically, curiosity actually led.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And this cat
I
didn't die.
can
So,
exactly. Yeah. I can relate. I'm also from a networking background. I did when my first certification was networking, not CCNA. CCNA is for Cisco, but I did it for MicroTik, which is
oh,
MTCNA. It's the
yeah.
same, basically it's the same but different company. So I
Yes.
can relate from where you're coming. Yeah. But so over the years, you have actually evolved from maybe other roles like technical hands-on roles to maybe into leadership and policy advisory. What personal philosophy or mindset actually guided you to move within, like from networking to slip into business process management, and then into, let's say, GRC, Infosec, and the rest? Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I think I always wanted to be part of process. I didn't want to just be the guy that you just give a sheet of configuration to and you say, okay, go and configure this router or do this. I also always wanted to be part of process. And, I think, or I wanted to, for lack of a better word, matter more, be part of the conversation. You have great technical guys. I have nothing against that, but there's a level of it that it's just a do what you're told to do, kind of thing. It's just set down there for you. Okay, this is the infrastructure. Someone has designed it. You go, you do the configuration, as opposed to being on the table, the policy side, the governance side. It to me, I felt it was going to bring more meaning to, and I believe I'm a creative person, so I do not restrict myself. So I don't like the box, the rules. So I wanted to go into a space where I could express more and explore more, and still be relevant. Most importantly.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about breaking barriers and stuff that actually limit your capacity and capability. Well, when you also look at, I know you work closely with Nigerian organizations, let's say both SMEs, larger firms, and organizations. So, in your opinion, what are like the top threats currently that faces these Nigerian businesses or organizations currently? I mean, you can share any real-world scenario or any client case without no names are needed,
Yes.
where maybe an overlooked risk led to a major issue and maybe eventually how you actually helped to address it. Basically, I think our viewers will also like to have this feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the thing is I'll use the word opinion. Opinion not born out of fact, but just born out of what someone thinks it should be. And we like to, by default, we like to cut corners in, I mean, a lot of organizations rather. I'll give an instance. I worked on or with an organization that was in finance, and they were using a core banking application that was out of support. They had security appliances that didn't have valid licenses, but they would pay for the MD to go on trips abroad.
So when you say valid license, do you mean expired or they're using cracked versions? I mean, these specificalities actually help to explain it in
Okay,
the end what happened. Yeah.
expired licenses. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, you had some appliances that were out of support. So you can't even get licenses for them because they don't even support those appliances. They had been phased out and they were
So like
still,
devices that are out of life,
yes, out of
end
life.
of life, end of life.
End of life.
Mm-hmm.
They had reached the end of life. They had reached their EOL and they were still being used. So that is one. Then secondly is trying not getting the right expertise. Someone resigns and you just get, oh, you're all in IT, you're all, okay, so just do what this guy was doing, and he's just guessing. He doesn't have the right expertise. He doesn't have, and he's just guessing. And then the other part, when you're working for certain organizations, is there's the greed factor. Now, the greed factor is someone in charge wants you to do it for 2 naira, but wants to take 7 naira from his company. However, he doesn't care if it would impact on, the quality of what you are going to. I've seen places where certain scopes were reduced, not because money was not available, but because somebody believed that he needed to get money off. In fact, I've seen a process where after submitting credentials, they go back and swap it with their own figures, and so all sorts. So I think that has impacted a lot too, negatively, and we've seen that play out, especially like in the public sector. We see that play out a lot.
Well, not surprising, but then some things are just very hard to comprehend most of the time how these things actually happen. Well, but generally, do you think like Nigerian organizations, generally speaking, I know there are extreme cases, but generally, do you think all of our organizations in Nigeria take information security assessments seriously enough, or there is still a compliance only mindset, maybe?
Well, I think again it depends on the sector. So in recent times, like in the financial sector, they've not had a choice but to take it seriously,
Exactly, yeah.
because CBN has had some regulations.
To
Everybody has
enforce,
to
yeah.
do a yearly cybersecurity self-assessment, and then they are also now going also to other financial institutions outside banks. So by this is now by force. So ordinarily we had the percentage was less for those taking it serious. So now by compulsion, some of them have to take it serious. But on the whole, we still have a long way to go, because I've seen people feel that when they hear cybersecurity, once you have a firewall, they're like, but we have a firewall. So they just feel that once you have a firewall, everything is fixed. But yes, more people are taking it seriously, but not at the level at which it should be.
But in terms of skills or talent in Nigeria, do you think there is currently enough talent in Nigeria to meet like the ever-growing cybersecurity demand? Or are we just facing like a major crisis in the skills gap, in your own opinion?
Okay, so this question is multifaceted. I had this
Yeah.
conversation with someone today. Do we have more and more people getting trained? Yes. But do we have, out of those more and more people, now what's the percentage of those people that are training right? Now that's where the problem is. Someone just wants to, I met someone ironically earlier today, and he says, I want to go into cybersecurity, or I'm going to, I've done, I'm like, so
Mm,
where did you start from? What are your rudiments? And I'm like, do you even know what, for instance, an A plus is, or a network plus? Like, how can you be in cybersecurity and do not understand IP communication? Now
exactly.
we have a lot of, and now it's almost like a pandemic in Nigeria right now, because most people want to become an expert in quotes in 3 months. So are more people getting
Okay.
trained? Is the pool getting wider? Yes, but how much of that pool is properly trained? I think that is where the issue is. So are people trained? Yes, but do we have enough properly trained hands? Obviously not.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's again, basically across board. I have had this over a few years now. Everybody will meet you maybe after a conference or after a presentation or something, and they will say they want to they want to go into cybersecurity. But then what they want is they want to become the expert yesterday,
Yeah.
not even tomorrow.
True.
They want to skip, like there's a meme, I think, of somebody climbing the stairs and then jumping like all the stairs.
Yeah, all the
So they're
stairs are
jumping network, all the foundational aspects. So they want to go from zero to hero, in
you.
one day. I think that is, and I think I normally take it as a failure from our side that we normally do too much to communicate to them and show them how simple, like, because of how we break things down to the level of understanding, and they think it's that simple.
True.
So it has its advantages and disadvantages. So if you make it too technical, nobody would understand. But if you make it and break it down into a level that everybody can understand, then they will think it's, I can just do it tomorrow. Even
Very
though
true.
there is this Hollywood charm of cybersecurity that shows you, okay, a hacker can just have a computer and then within 10 seconds they're inside somewhere. I mean,
Very
these
true.
are things that take what they show in 10 seconds. Somebody will take 2 years to get into that.
Very
So
true.
I think there is our aspect, there is the aspect that Hollywood, and there's the aspect of our own Nigerians that they want a quick fix. They want to get there immediately. So,
True.
uh, but then knowing all these things, I normally advise people, but from your own perspective, what would you give somebody that meets you now and asks you, how do I get in cybersecurity properly in this case?
So I'll tell the person, if you do not have knowledge of the rudiments, go and do an equivalent of, say, uh, IT fundamentals, which is like an A plus. And if you've gone past that, you could now do, say, a network plus. You don't need to go, the depth doesn't need to be 100%, but know enough to understand the concepts around networking and network communications and all of that. Then you can now start your rudiments. I mean, Security Plus is a good place to start. I know these days you have like the certified in cybersecurity, and then also recently the Google course on Coursera has actually, I mean, they tried with that. They tried with that, because it's not it's not as simplistic as other, so
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that isn't a bad place to start, because when you do courses like this, you now understand what direction you want to take, but when you just because you may think, for instance, I want to be a SOC analyst, but you now find out that no, I probably want to do something else. So that's when you have those rudimentary and beyond the certification. And when I say certification here, I'm talking about training. So that's why I use the
Mm.
word equivalent, because you may just train, you don't necessarily, I mean, certifications are good to have, but if that's all you have, it's not good enough. So in between this, if you could get some practical training, right now you have some what do you call it, like hack the box, all those. I mean, as you advance, you could
To
do
practice your
that,
skills,
yeah,
yeah.
practice your skills, or get internships or something. But the rudiments they're very important. A house that is not built, now there's a reason why you see a house with one floor. If the foundation is this deep, then you see a
Mhm.
skyscraper. They could take years to do the foundation of the skyscraper. Why? So when the
Mm.
skyscraper comes up, it stands very well. So
Exactly, yeah.
when you have the right fundamentals, so again, I'll just recap: have like initially your IT fundamentals knowledge, have some good networking knowledge, and then you could progress to something like Security Plus. And at that point, trust me, you would know what direction to take, because your interests would have been formed at that time.
Yeah. I think mostly I would like to be, when they ask me these things, I normally interview them back I would ask them, what is your background? If they tell me, for example, the last one I met was a software engineer. So I was like, okay, you're a software engineer, you have a strong background in this, you have some certifications, you have a master's, okay, you have worked on some projects. So what aspect of cybersecurity do you want to get into? And he was like, he has not decided. So I recommended, there is web application cybersecurity that you can go pen testing,
Yeah.
there are, so many things. DevSecOps. It's endless. So I just gave him some aspects to apply his background and things that he needs to do to get there. So instead of starting like afresh for those that maybe are switching backgrounds. So there are people, somebody I think studied BSc Hausa, and wants to get into cybersecurity, then he has to start from the foundational aspects, then build slowly upwards there. So it's a bit challenging, I know, especially for the young ones coming up. But I think they will get there. So for you, I think for somebody in the front line of delivering information security services, how do you see InfoSec evolving, especially in Nigeria or the sub-Saharan Africa, over the next, say, 5 years from now?
Okay, so I think it would get uh, okay, I'll say this carefully. I think it will get seemingly simpler. Now, I use that word carefully because we have the advent of AI, machine learning. Now, it will get seemingly simpler, but there will be parts of it that will be like a trap because it's getting seemingly simpler. Someone would feel I can just come in, take this tool, take that tool. I don't need to know anything, and then I just would go and, in this case, we're talking about 3 months. They'll probably be doing 1 month courses on on AI tools.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it will get seemingly simpler, but more dangerous because you'd see more and more less technically sound people coming in because of how um, it will seem like it's become simpler to do. So I think there's that side of it, and especially in a place like like Africa, where especially Nigeria, where I am, we're smart people, but a lot of times we like to cut the learning time.
Yeah,
Yes. So I think it will get simpler, but more dangerous, my opinion.
I would say, yeah, dangerous and complicated, most likely. Yeah,
Yes, complicated.
a
Yes.
bit confusing as well. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I always say, also, AI is here to make it efficient, but then many people think it's here to like change or replace the whole process. Um, and again, I said recently in one of my talks that AI is going to change things, of course, but then those who apply it efficiently are going to be better off than those who use it blindly and like to do everything for them. Yeah.
True. True.
So yeah, it's here. But in terms of this future of InfoSec that we are seeing, which is fastly evolving, are there any changes you would like to see in terms of what Nigerian cybersecurity policy or regulatory approach is? By both private sector like you, maybe regulators, schools, in terms of incorporating all these things in the educational system and stuff. So, any changes in policy or regulatory approach from your own point of view?
Yes, I'd like to see more and more the inclusion of awareness. Because you could have a Bugatti, but if you do not know if you don't know where the start button is, it's useless to you. If you don't know where the gear is, you can't move it. So for me, I'd like to see more and more awareness, even before we start to talk about the higher level of expertise. If more people are properly aware, from school kids to people at work, to if there's more awareness, it makes the job even easier. It means that it makes the possibility or the ratio of attacks would reduce, or successful exploitations would reduce. So if there's one thing I want to see across board, public, private, every strata is more awareness, proper awareness, around this. So I'll give an instance. I was at just earlier today, a symposium, and
Yeah.
someone was like, he believed that if he wasn't using a smartphone, then footprints about him couldn't be gotten. But there's a SIM card there. I mean, it's connected to something, so it doesn't stop you. It doesn't stop
Yeah.
stop that from
I
happening.
I
Yeah.
think he has not met people in forensics. That's why.
That's it. And exactly what the person
Exactly.
told him, that, in forensics, you will find out that your fix is not a fix. But if there was proper awareness for him to know that I just rather not do what I shouldn't do, you know, if he's that aware, then I think would have a cleaner cyberspace, would have a safer cyberspace. So awareness, proper awareness is one thing I would like to see across board.
But this awareness, I think it's been going on, and in the implementation matters. I know many people don't know this, that NIDA actually runs cybersecurity awareness every year. But what is the reach? What is the impact? Even people that actually attend. I mean, they call it a nationwide awareness, but they go only to the big cities, the
Yeah,
capitals.
yeah.
Uh, the event is for maybe the C-suite or I would say, upper class. But I mean, even the awareness, and we spend hundreds of millions on these things. I don't know. That's why I brought up the issue of policy. The conversation needs to be started in terms of this. It's not about
Yeah, that's
spending
true.
money and going there, yeah.
That's true.
And even when you look at the content, there are PowerPoint slides that are generic stuff that you could have posted online.
And people can just
It's not
access.
getting down to like core conversations. And let's say you're going to a village in Maiduguri. I mean, that particular awareness should be tailored and keyed towards that specific community. They're
Very true.
already having some issues. Some NGOs are there. There will be a lot of mixed infrastructure. They have terrorism, and that, I mean, everything should be catered towards, instead of using one size fits all. And then, okay, you have this PowerPoint. This is for this year, and then you go and do the tour. Everybody, I'm presenting that. I mean, that's one of my issues with the approach that we actually develop and implement,
I
by the
agree.
regulators themselves.
I
So,
agree totally. Because, sorry,
yeah,
just to say,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, thank God you brought the Maiduguri scenario. So, thankfully, work has, there was a period I worked for 2 years running, and I would go to Maiduguri, Pulka, Goza. That's like 5, 6 years ago, and I could relate everything you have said right now. I can relate, because who else would have needed this awareness more than people in those communities? How do they reach out? I mean, when there's when there's an incident, how do they easily reach out? How, there are more effective ways they would have been able to pass information if only they knew better, for instance. So I agree with you. Implementation. So yes, the policy part is very key. But you see, we have a problem of even people that are meant to be bringing up and enforcing the policies sadly do not even totally have an understanding of what they should be putting policies over and implementing. It's just another checkbox. Okay, just tick the
yeah.
box. We've done it anyway. As opposed to having a very good understanding. So yes, it's multi-layered, and if the policy goes wrong, then I think every other effort would go south.
Okay. So that is actually our conversational segment. We normally, in the podcast, the way I designed it is to have a fun segment at the end, what we call this or that. So our Infosec edition. Now we're going to lighten up a bit with these. So it's just you choose one of the two options that you're given. So first one is ISO 27001 or NIST cybersecurity framework.
Hmm.
Mhm.
ISO 27001 actually.
Okay. So, do you prefer to take a technical deep dive or in terms of governance, risk, and compliance strategy sessions?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, which one? Technical deep dive or the governance, risk, and compliance strategy sessions?
I think the
Would you?
governance, risk, and compliance strategy sessions.
Okay. Remote work or office setup?
Remote work actually, because of its
So,
flexibility.
some impossible scenarios. Do you prefer to do 1 month with no internet or 1 month with no mobile phone?
I'd rather do 1 month with no mobile phone.
Okay. Uh, Nigerian jollof rice or rice and stew?
Rice and stew actually.
Okay. In terms of client infrastructure to work on, do you prefer cloud or on-premise?
Cloud actually.
Pen testing or governance and compliance?
Governance and compliance.
So training or consulting?
Consulting.
Um, Training younger generation or C-suite executives?
C-suite executives.
Okay. So actually, this wraps up the end of the this segment and the podcast. So, Mr. Mo, thank you very much. This has been very inspiring and eye-opening.
Thank you.
I think your journey that we have seen shows how InfoSec isn't just about tech, it's about leadership, training, and even I think people can say empowering people.
Yeah.
So, do you have any like final words of encouragement for those that actually trying to break into your field of InfoSec consulting? Just a few words. Then we
Okay,
can.
yes. All I'll tell them is the answers would come. Just keep playing your bits. The answers will come. Stay inquisitive, and the answers would come. And prepare yourself. The opportunities are always there. Never let anybody tell you there are no jobs, there are no opportunities. It's not true. Play your part. You would always collide at some point into those opportunities. So just keep working and keep yourself abreast of what's happening.
Exactly. Thank you very much. So, to
Thank you for having
all our
me.
listeners, I think if you're thinking of getting into InfoSec cybersecurity or already deep in the trenches that you already are currently, we hope today's conversation will give you some clarity, some motivation, some practical steps, of course, to get into achieving this. So don't forget to subscribe, share this with as many people as you can, and then join us next time on the next episode of the Cyber-Foodty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.